Okay, well, I was hoping for my boiler to finish before I started, but it's still going. So, hey guys, welcome to today's stream. For those of you who got here early. So today we're going to be doing a few upgrades to the printer. I'm mostly going to be taking it apart and rebuilding it with parts that I've printed and stuff that I bought from the hardware store, as well as a couple of bearings that I have here. I want to change out the ones on the x-axis as well. I upgraded the ones on the y. It's a little better. Doesn't sound as much. It feels like it runs a little bit smoother. The x-axis I can hear kind of crunching a little bit though, so I want to get those changed. I found these blocks while I was looking for a new fan duct. So this is one that I found on Thingiverse. It's actually 3 different parts. This is designed for a ducted fan, and then I found this adapter to a 30mm fan. I don't have a 30mm fan, so I found an adapter to a 40mm fan, but it looks pretty cool in there. So I think this will get us good airflow to the part at the very least. This is the one that I designed and printed out myself. We can maybe take a look more in depth at that later. And, you know, it works pretty good, but I don't think there's enough airflow. I might still redesign it more, but the biggest issue was this this giant block of plastic here in front of where it's printing. And I can't see anything. I didn't like that, so this is actually going to mount in the back, so that's going to be fun to figure out. I also have this tensioner for the y-axis. It comes with a spring on each of the belts, but the spring adds a little bit of jiggle, I guess, to the print as it's running around corners. That boiler is still going. So I wanted to eliminate any of that. I wanted to get good, clean, consistent prints out of this thing. And after that, we got a Z-brace to put in, which is going to be a few printed parts in the front and up top here. And that's going to help keep the tower straight. I think it just so happens that where I have it now is pretty good without it. So I don't think I really need it. It's more an exercise, and sure, I think I can do it. And I imagine it would help given situations where this would wiggle more, because it does have some flex. There it is. It's finally off. So I want to eliminate that for sure, and make sure everything's square up. Although I don't have a square with me today. It will be something I do at some point. Tools are a little all over the place right now. I'm going to be moving soon, so I'll get it done right eventually. So I think for now, first thing that I want to do, move some of these prints out of the way. And I want to try to start with this belt tensioner, and that's going to go in underneath. So I've unspooled it. I've made sure that's not going to get in the way, because that did last time. I've just unplugged it, and we're going to flip it on its back kind of here. Yep. Okay. Alright, just making sure I don't squish anything. Alright, so here the back plate itself really only has these 6 screws here. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to take this off though. I suppose I could... No, that's actually more screws. But yeah, I'm going to take this little brace underneath off so I can more easily access this. Because I think it's not going to really come off. I've actually done this already to fix the Y plate. I'll get to that, talking about that in a bit, but yeah, so I've done this once before. This is too small. So at least I'm a little familiar with what I'm heading into here. This is Artemis Hooves. Hello. I see your comment now. I just looked over to make sure I'm actually reading them as they come in. I'm still a little small in the live audience, so trying to get to all of them that do come through. Okay, should be the last screw that we need to deal with for now. Okay. There we go. So there's the insides. In different models of, was this the Maker Select Plus? The V2 or the original had all of this in a separate box. So I'm sure those owners are a little more familiar with the rat's nest in here. But what we need to get to is down here. So yeah, here, let me actually get the camera a little closer while we do this. Alright, so right here is the spring belt tensioner, and I don't want to use that. So let me see if I can get a good placement of the camera where you can see what I'm doing and it's not in my way. Alright, so I'm going to need to get one of these screws off. So the way this tensioner goes in is I guess like this would be good. It goes through the screw here, through the hole up top, and then this screw tightens it over this way once you get the belt through the little loop there. So which one is this? I think it's big one here. I gotta be careful of the whole plate itself. Oh, you know what? This was easier to get to when I was taking off the plate. Huh. That might be more tricky than I thought. I doubt this would be a good solution. No. Might have to come back to this at another time. You know what? I think that's actually working okay for now. Jeez. Well, my other option, I guess, would be to move this out of the way. Which I don't know how easy that would actually be. Certainly not looking like it. Well, you know what? I think what I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to put this bracer back, and then we're going to focus on the other things, and I'll try to do this another time off camera, perhaps, because I don't want to. What I think I might have to do is take apart the whole bed, and I don't want to do that right now. It's going to take a lot of time. So what do I need? Where's my tools? Okay. depending on how I feel later, we might actually get back to this, but that's a lot of work to take apart the bed. Especially since I've already had it apart, and I don't need to take it apart in that way anymore. Or I shouldn't need to. I did want to cover... knocking the camera. I did want to cover a little bit of what I have done here. So I did upgrade the bed a little bit. I can grab this plate back here. So this is the plate that came in there originally. I don't know how well you'll be able to see that, but I'm kind of twisting it, and it's got a little bit of unwanted flex in there. It's hard to show, especially this close, but I don't want to move it much further away. I just wanted to make a quick point there. So installed here is a much thicker aluminum plate. And between that and the bed, I just jammed a piece of cardboard in there, and that's going to help insulate the plate from the bed from the heat that it creates, so it's going to warp less. I've noticed also that the heat bed itself is actually maintaining a more level surface to it now that I have this plate. So that's come in pretty handy. For a little while after the last stream that I did, the bed ended up pretty warped. There was a big bump in the middle, but that's pretty much flattened out ever since upgrading and using the heat, I guess, allowed the plate to be a little more malleable, which is pretty cool. So let's shuffle things around again. Alright, so what I want to do in here is I want to get to these two bearings in the back. So I might need to spin the printer, not lose these screws that I took out from the bottom. Alright. So I'm gonna probably need to be able to access it from both sides. But here we can kind of see, this is one of the bearings. This is going to be this guy up here. I'm a little worried about how easily this slides in there, but we'll see how that manages. I was thinking of creating a clip of some sort that went into the groove of the bearing here, just to try to hold it in place so it doesn't slide around too much everywhere. Yeah, and then this one's going to go down here. And the fan is actually going to use one of these two screws down here. I don't think you can see them too well, but there's a screw in there. I'm going to replace that screw with one that goes through this and holds that there for the rear mounted fan. So I want to make sure you guys can see what I'm doing too, but also I didn't mention I have an upgraded Z-belt tensioner in here already. Here. Get that out of the way so you can get a better look at it. So that's in there. This one's actually pretty cool. I have a little more space up here, so I can. There's this like dial that I could use to set the tension of the belt and then screw it in to make sure it doesn't move. That's pretty cool. I wish I could find something like that for below. But I wanted to go with something simple. It may be too simple, oddly enough. So we'll see how that goes later. So that I want out of the way. Just planning this out of my head right now. Okay, so let's get in here, because I bet I'm gonna have to unplug some stuff. So this is sort of the brain box of the print head. This is where the ribbon cable goes into, and all the, the sub cables divide out from. There we go. I'll just take this off my tripod here for a second so you can see in there a little better. Let's see if I can get a more reasonable focus. There you go. Kind of. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of connectors in here for all the different parts. Now, I think I'm gonna have to take apart the whole the whole dang thing to do all of this, but I've already expected that, so we're not gonna not gonna give up just like that. What do we need? So I think the only thing staying is actually going to be the tensioner and the belt itself, and then the rest is gonna come off in some way or another. Let's go back to the front. Okay, and I'm gonna completely remove this fan and the old duct that I designed. Oh, I guess we can talk a little more about that. This, I'm not terribly happy with the design. I don't think it really gives enough airflow. The holes that I've made were pretty small. The original idea kind of being to just, as easily as I could manage with my limited CAD skills, to get something that will take the air from the fan and push it all the way around the parts. And it does seem to work. It seems to make things warp a little more evenly rather than all on one side as it would. Okay, so I have one of those screws in the back. It's actually the same screw that I'm gonna use to mount the new fan. So this is done. We're actually, that screw is done for. I guess I need to take out the other one. At least enough to be able to slide that out. So I had some warping issues with this, primarily because this was actually closer to the hot end at the time in older designs, and I would occasionally use a heat gun to try to fix a jam, which fortunately I don't really get jams much anymore. At some point I'll definitely share with you guys the settings that I use. I just need to figure out how to in the best way. I was hoping to do a more involved like review video with like a lot more information, but anyway, this would get all melty and kind of sag a little bit, so I designed this little extra peg to grab onto the other side, which has worked pretty well. But you can maybe see in there, it's not a very open airway, and I didn't really like that. So let's get back to it. Oh, losing screws. Oh, at least I don't have to worry about losing a screw inside the body at this point, since the bottom plate is off. Because things can fall into here. But they're just going to hit the surface. So let me get these screws out of the way. Alright. I guess we'll figure that out later. I need to at least get the extruder out of the way, possibly the hot end itself. Because there's these 4 screws for the top bearing. There's also 4 screws for the bottom bearing. And I need to be able to get to those. So if you saw my last stream, you'll be kind of familiar with this part. This is where we got into the all-metal hot end that we upgraded here. There we go. Move the extruder. Let's get that out of the way. Oh yeah, so I don't need to take out the hot end. That can stay. Or do I? No, I don't. It's just these two. Okay. So this is one further back. This is the one that's always on. I'll probably forget that. But at least it's out of the way. Alright, just kind of stepping back and thinking here, making sure I'm doing everything right, not losing anything. Okay. So from here, what I think I need to do is there should be a couple of, I forgot what they're called. Basically just screws with a hex at the other end. Grub screws, I think it is. Yeah, there should be... What am I talking about? Yeah, there should be a couple of grub screws on either end holding these rods in place. And I think that's kind of where we need to go next. I think I should probably take off one or more of the bearings first. Actually, yeah, let's do that. Oh, got my arm in the way. So that's the top one. You know what, that actually sounds pretty good. It might just be this little one in the bottom here that's giving me trouble. Looking for a tool right now. This one. Yeah, it's having a hard time getting in to this area. Yeah, although as nice and robust this is, it's a little too big in some applications. Okay. So hot end's pretty much out. If I take this screw, I can pretty much unwrap the whole thing. Actually, no, it's stuck on here, but let's see. At least as far as the bearings go, that's out of the way. I could, yeah, I'll do that. I'll just plug this back in so I know where it goes. Alright, get that out of the way. So yeah, this is just the belt and the bearings now. So, as I was saying, I think this is the right one for it. Should be a couple of grub screws in here. No. I don't even see it, I'm just just feeling it out. Oh, please tell me it goes far enough. Oop. Alright, so... Oh wow, these are moving at the same time. That's weird. There we go. That's what I want. Let me get the bottom rod loose too. Why isn't this one moving? Why isn't that moving? Oh, what was that? Screw, I missed. Okay, so I'm just kind of loosening the thing here, holding the rod in. Just in case that is somehow holding it in place there. Oop, there we go. Hey, got it. Alright, if we can just sort of sneak in these new parts without having to take it apart too much. Oh yeah, that sounds nice. What is going on? Too far. Too far. Okay, well. Okay. I'm not a huge fan of the way this is going, but I'm fighting it just a little too much. There we go. Not all the way through. Okay. The bottom one seems to be in now. Come on. There you go. Oh, I'm getting messages on my phone. Sorry about that. Okay. Don't have a particularly good way to see how far in this is one way or the other. I guess somewhere in between where it's hitting stuff would be the ideal spot. Somewhere around there. Okay. Well, that was a huge pain, but they're out now. Alright, so that's actually a good bulk of the work right there. Ooh, that barely clears the belt. Well, I guess this actually goes, yeah, in between here and this one up here. Cool. I might turn this more since a lot of the action of what we're doing is back here. So grab our hot end again. Wrap that around. Okay. Now I actually need to get to the other side for now. And then we'll turn it back afterwards. So I need to get these 6 screws in at least. The 8 if I include the belt tensioner. I am so covered in oil right now. This bearing in this top hole there is a little loose. I'm hoping as I tighten these bolts around it, it'll hold it in a little more. But if not, I'll try to print something out to hold it in. So, in case I didn't mention it or make it clear enough, like pretty much everything that I'm upgrading here is found on Thingiverse. I think I mentioned that to some degree, but like everything that I'm using, even this X tensioner for the belt. Ooh, that really squeezes in there. So I think I want to get this bottom bearing all ready. I think I need the other tool. It's not ideal in any way. Alright. Could use a little more, but I don't want to over tighten right away. Especially when the other screw isn't even in. I can use this one again. I don't think that screw's gonna tighten. No, that one's just kind of spinning in there. now I can spin this back. There it is. It's kind of guessing. Swash it back and forth until it goes in, right? Go. Both of them now. Cool. Almost looks like one piece. Okay. Alright, so I guess we're getting pretty close to the fan. I suppose I can get the one screw in here. Where? There it is. So here's a replacement screw. Actually should have had a flat on the bottom. I think would have been better, but that's what I got. So I made these little pegs to go in here. They kind of help hold this thing together, especially these two, the adapter and the adapter. Yeah, the holes didn't even really, I mean, they lined up, but they weren't even the same size, and they didn't really leave you much for anywhere to attach to. So I just made these little plastic pegs that they're almost like spools for locks, if you know what I mean. Anyway, just jammed those in there. I made them enough of the right size that it held these two parts together. So let's get this screw through this mounting hole here. Which might fight us a little. I haven't actually tried to get this through yet. Does this even... I don't even know what size this is. Okay, that is the right size. There we go. Now it's in. Okay. Cool. That works perfect. I'll just align that up. Screw in, please. Alright, well, there's something wrong there. Yeah, it looks like this this plate here sticks down a little bit further than this was designed for. Not really sure how to rectify that. That's gonna require some modifications I wasn't really prepared for at all. So I don't really have a file or drill here. I might have a file. I'll be right back. Alright, well, no file, but I found a knife. That's kind of gouging into it a little bit. This might be something I have to come back to, though, depending on how it goes as far as installing this. Might even need to print an alternate version. So, yeah, it doesn't really line up. That's really lame. Alright, well, I guess we're gonna have to back out on the fan for now. And I think I shredded the threads. Perfect. Yeah, because these are plastic, they don't really take to being torqued too much. Lame. Alright, so what else, what can we do while we're still going? Alright, hot end. The extruder at the very least. I find just pushing this all the way to the edge so that the frame is holding the extruder into place helps quite a bit. knocking into things. Just want to get these level. Okay. Hands keep blocking the view here. Cool. Okay, I'm just missing the fan there, which I might get to later. I'm gonna leave that cover off for now. Alright, we still have the whole Z-brace. So, well, at least the bearings are installed, and it does seem to run very nice and smooth. I did mention, I don't know if I did actually, but it did feel a little crunchy when I was running it back and forth with the old bearings. And I'll have to take a closer look at those at some point once I find where I put them over here. Yeah, I don't really have anything to run them up and down. I don't know if you can hear that. It's very rattly. That just might be how it goes, though. Yeah, just about all the bearings rattle a bit. Alright, so I guess let's start on the Z-brace. Z-brace actually should go a little smoother, I think. Alright, so let's grab the camera back a little bit, because there's a lot more of the frame related stuff that we're going to be doing here. So, need to take out these 2 screws and these 8 up top. There's 4 on each side. I wonder if the top would actually, no, it has a couple of screws around the side. So the top would actually stay there, even with these 4 removed. Okay. Well, I got those top ones removed. These happen to go in a very particular way. But I think this one goes over here, this one goes over here, in that specific orientation. Let's see how well this goes. So I got some screws, yeah, replacement screws, because these the old ones were too short to go through both. I think my dog wants to go outside too. Oh man, are these the wrong size? I bet they're the wrong size. Okay, now it's just what it's going into, I think, is moving around. Yeah. Okay, so there's a couple of supports for the rods that is being completely attached by those 4 screws. So watch out for that as you're here, let me get a better look before I let my dog out. These little braces, those are held entirely by those 4 screws. So be careful of that as you're putting it back together, because that will surely get in the way. It'll be just a second to let my dog out. Okay. Appears to be some wiggle room there, but I don't know what's good or bad as far as the placement of that goes. Oh, that feels like that came completely out of place. Okay. I'll check it out from behind. What's going on back here? Why are you so out of place? Okay, so this, while we're here, might as well take a look and understand what's going on. So this is what holds pretty much at the end of every one of these rods. There's this little triangle thing with a circle where the rod is held, and there goes a grub screw on top. This does not have one, so this is really just a guide. Make sure that it's held in place. I don't... Ooh, look. Looky, looky. The bottom one, it doesn't have a grub screw either. So that's interesting. That's a way to change out the rods or do any work on them in particular, change out the bearings or anything. Just the 4 screws on either side. We'll get to that. Cool. Okay. Is this holding the rod? Yeah. Okay. Oh, you know what? This might be the belt tensioner a little too tight. Yeah, I might need to loosen that a little, actually. There we go. Okay, so that should be a little easier to get on for the other one here. might need to also loosen these grub screws here. Okay, that's one attached. Good, good. Okay. I think one of those screws was a little longer. Or one is a little shorter. Which I think was actually the right size, but I'm okay with having gotten a little longer. Alright. Rust should go in fairly easily now. Fairly easily anyway. Are you inside already? Talking to my dog. Oh, nope, that's the wrong screw. That's not a screw, that's a nut. Here. That one doesn't want to go in at all. I don't really see a problem with that one. Seems to go straight through. Well, I think I'm just going to make the other 3 good enough. Yep. Alright. So next step is these down here. Oh, let me get the door too. I hear birds chirping. Okay. Here are my replacement screws. I did have to drill out this hole a little bit because the screw wouldn't go all the way down. Is this the same size? It's not. Next size down, I guess. Yep. So the front plate and the main body of the base are actually different parts. So you have to kind of get them as one piece when you move them, and they're not screwed together. There we go. Cool. Okay, so those all feel fairly attached into place now. And here's the challenge. Got a few nylock washers to go onto this threaded rod. Let me try to get a tool for this. Yeah, I think that's going to be a bit of an issue. It's a little tough to get them threaded through. So let me get this over the edge. Ow. Got a metal splinter in my hand. Ow. I think that came from up here, where that screw wasn't going in. Oh, now I have my concerns that these aren't actually long enough. Crud. Shoot, I might have to buy another rod. Well, I've failed in just about every aspect of this stream, so why not, right? Yep, it's too short. Of course it is. So we got partway through just about every mod that I wanted to do here. Feeling a little defeated right now because I think this is just about the end. At least I can get it to keep it still printing. I just can't finish what I wanted to do in pretty much any of them. I upgraded the bearings, so it's going to be a little quieter from here on out. Just a little bit. I think a lot of the noise still comes from the Y, but it's better. Alright, well, I think I can still do the belt tensioner for the Y belt. Let's do that before I pull my hair out. Well, anyway, at the very least, I've gone through the steps for all of these things. Depending on your printer, your experiences may vary. I should have just cut the 3-foot rod that I had, that I got this out. I should have just cut it in half and just assumed whatever extra length is just going to stick out the top, and it's going to be no big deal. Just a rod sticking out there. Alright, so for the bottom plate, let's go back to this. Let me raise the camera a bit. I want to get the spring tension off and just kind of wing those off. Oh, I wanted to raise the hot end. That's the wrong way. The wrong way too. There we go. Not lose the springs. Springs collected. Ooh, kicking the camera. So I want to get that pretty much all the way up and out of the way. Here, just need these two here to replace. So So this is the new carriage plate that I got. It's pretty cool and very solid, pretty thick piece. Oh, that's too big, right? Okay, and with those two removed, should have a lot more slack with the belt underneath, because that's where the belt attaches with this little plate underneath. So let me partially reassemble you. At least as far as the work involved here, it actually wasn't nearly as much as I thought it would be to get good access to that piece. Down there, I guess is good. Get you guys nice and close for this so you can see what I'm doing here. Oh no, that's way too big. There we go. So I need to get this screw off in order to put the tensioner there. There we go, that's off now. So it's going to make taking this spring off a lot easier. There we go. So I'm just going to kind of unscrew this out of the belt there. Yeah. So I think this needs to go in like this. Okay. There's a little wider part in the hole there, so I can just kind of take out the whole thing if I really want it. So right up in there is what I want to do. I suppose I should tighten that all the way on there. At least until it's kind of grabbing. Alright, so now from here, I have to figure out exactly how I'm going to get the belt through there and these zip ties back on. I think, yeah, the kit for the printer came with a couple of zip ties, which I've been trying my best not to use, but I don't think I'm going to get these off in a way that I can reuse them. So, I'm just going to snip those off. Thank you. There we go. Out of the way you go. Now, I need to get this so that it's at least kind of tight as is, because I don't really have a lot of play here for the tensioner. Kind of my own fault. I should have gotten a screw about twice the length of the one that I got. So it should be around here. Not a lot of room to get in there. Let's see if I can get it out of that track again. Alright, measure the length. Alright. Make sure I do that part right, and then when I go to reassemble it, hopefully. So, right around here. Just take it off the belt for now, with the motor, the stepper motor. There. Just jam that into the groove there. This might actually do a good enough job of holding it without a zip tie, come to think of it, now that I got it jammed in there. Yeah, because you may not be able to see it that well, but the teeth of the belt itself are really squished into each other there. So that might actually hold good enough as is. So let's get that back in there. Hey! Dog's barking. There we go, that's pretty good. Although, I think it could be a bit tighter. Doesn't want to come out easy either. Okay, so I had it there. Let's try to get it like that. A little extra bit tighter. Alright, let's not get too crazy with how far in that is until we get a good idea of how tight it is. Looks good. I might even have a hard time getting it on. Might even be too tight. I might have gone a little too far. Trying to make sure I don't bend anything here either. Just a little bit more, I think. Come on. I'm gonna get the hex key for that. This one? I hope it's this one. I might be wrong. I'm wrong. This one then. I might have to trim this excess bit. I want to make sure it actually goes on here before I do that. Yeah, it's too short. Well, at least like this I can get to it just a little bit easier. Okay. Let's go 3 teeth. Let's see. That might do. I'm gonna get it just to the point of threaded. Okay. Let's see if I can't slip this on without breaking anything. Slide that bit all the way to the top so I have a little more room here. I'm trying to use the extruder, not the extruder, the stepper motor itself to get this to spin around it. There we go. Oh yeah. That's much better. Now it sounds like a bass. Alright, I wish I could get this belt in there just a little bit more before we close this up. I think that'll have to do. Alright, so to close this, I think I'm going to have to actually take this brace back out. Alright, cover back on. Alright, so at least I managed to complete one of the projects that we set out to do here today. Still got plenty of reassembly to do still though. Here, we'll get this out of the way a little bit. Focus back on the bed. Now realigning this up is a little bit of a pain. Especially, I actually spun this around. I noticed that these plates have holes on two points here. There's two holes there, and then back here there's a couple more holes. And this was facing the other way, this little sort of L plate. What's going on there? So I flipped that around so that would actually be more in the middle. I figured that would give more even pull back and forth. So with the design of this anyway, it's a little easier to get to it than it was with the stock plate further out to the side. There it is. Alright, and then just get the springs back. I like to do two at a time. Well, kind of one, then two, and then the other two. Because then those are in place, and it's kind of being held in by the screw, just kind of, well, gravity is holding the plate on top in those screw holes, so that those springs won't go anywhere. You won't lose them that way. And then you get the two in the front, and those will stay in place fairly easily. For the sake of avoiding burning holes in this, I'm just gonna screw those all the way down and then level it once I go to start another print. Not sure if I'm gonna be still streaming at that point, but I do want to get this at least mostly reassembled. I might have to do some sort of alteration to this to get it to stay in there. Alright, well, let's not worry too much about the things that we didn't accomplish today, and more on the things that we have and still need to work on. Ooh, you are loose. Things like that. So what I think was happening before was the belt was too tight, and when I loosened these to put in the bearings, sorry, there we go. When I retightened this was too far in, so it was actually like pulling on the rods over here. Probably don't want that to be the case. So with the belt loose, which is probably something you want to do if you are to try to change those, I'm gonna tighten these on now so that they don't move. Try to get it as square as possible, I guess. Oh, hey. I think I dropped something. I might have completely undid that grub screw. Was I tightening that? I thought I was tightening that. Shoot. Well, I don't see where it went. Unless that's it. Oh, that is it. How in the heck did I screw this out? Yeah, it's supposed to righty-tighty, right? I don't know how easy this is going to be to get it in there either. Yeah, that just falls right off. I'm going to find a magnet. Alright, so I don't know what kind of metal this is, but in case you don't know, if you take a magnet, so this is a bag clip, has a magnet on the back, and if you rub it in one direction along something metal, so it is pulling towards the magnet, so I think this is going to work, and you keep rubbing it in one direction, that's going to build up a magnetic charge, like all the magnetic bits in there are all going to be facing the same way. There we go. Now it's grabbing the grub screw. So that's a cool little trick if you want something magnetic. I don't know how well that'll last. I don't know if that's something you really want your parts to be. But if you do, that's the way to do it. There we go. So now that's gone in nice. Is it going in? No, it isn't. It just fell again. There it is. What in the world? Why is this not going in? Okay, it's still hanging on. I might need to get a good look inside there, which I don't know if I can. Yeah, it should be right there. For some reason, it's not going in. I think it's going in. Well, that's what happened last time. It just kind of slipped off. Oh, fell out again. Alright, well, I think I'll do that one off camera. Point is this, yeah, this already feels a lot more sturdy. So once I get that other one in, then I can tighten the belt. I just, oh, of course the ribbon's in the way. Just tighten this, just twist it until I got a satisfying twang off the belt, and then drive in the screw in the middle here, which I think I can a little bit right now. Yeah, I'm getting pretty tired of this printer right now, so I think I can just about call it there, because we did manage to do some things right, at least. Where are all these screws coming from? Okay, those were the 8 from the front. This is the one for the fan. So many screws. Let me give you guys an idea of what I'm looking at. So here's a bunch of screws. Those are all trash, more or less. Here are a bunch of stuff. All of these nuts that I was planning to use on the threader rods, which are too short, of course. These are those 2 screws. This just covers the wiring in the back. That probably holds the fan. These are the fan's screws, like the fan directly to. Yeah, I had a couple of nuts to attach that to here. So I could have reused those. It's a mess over here. Alright, so I think I'm going to call it here. So thanks guys for dropping by. I'll just leave it like that. Yeah, we got a fair amount done. I think we covered most of what we need for the threaded rods, which we failed the most on. I just want to cover this a little bit. I had these to go on the mounts up here. Here, grab the camera once more before we go. Oop, too high. So these here, not sure how easily you can tell, have a sort of concave there, so you have a little bit of wiggle room as to how this tightens on there. You have these on either side with a nut inside, so it has a little space for that, so the nut won't spin. Oh. There you go. But it's going to take a little bit of work to get all of that working properly. A new rod altogether. Just cut it in half, I guess, because this was a good like ½ inch to an inch too short. So there's a website with instructions. Let me at least say that then, on how to do the Z-brace upgrade. Now it says 16 inches for the threaded rod approximately. I would go with at least 17. Maybe if you also can get a 3-foot threaded rod, just cut it in half. And you know, you might have some extra hanging out up here, but judging from the way that the angle of that from here to the post here shouldn't get in the way of anything, so we should just go straight on through. So if it's too long, you know, whatever. But this is just too short by just a little bit too. So frustrating. Alright guys, well, we did what we could. I brought you up to date with at least some of where the printer is currently at. I do want to do a pretty major upgrade to the bed itself. Right now this is the stock material on top. I even have a replacement, which I'm not sure I will ever use, but I do want to try to get a glass surface on here, and I think the best way, I found one that should cover across the whole top, but I need to change out the screws here. I need to countersink them so this is flat. And then remove this this printing surface. That way the glass is pretty much directly on the aluminum plate. I want to print out some brackets to hold that all in place so it doesn't really interfere with the printing surface. Whole bunch of cool stuff. Maybe even get a sheet of PEI to put across the glass so that its prints stick a lot better. But we'll see as that all progresses. As for now, thanks guys for coming by, putting up with the half measures of today, and I'll see you guys in the next one.